months ago, hey, 6 months ago, I met with 2 students at a local diner to discuss a project I had recently begun developing. Looking back now, this was not only my first pitch, but also my most significant. As I grabbed my jacket to leave, a man who had been sitting at the table next to us walked over. Excuse me, he said. Do you mind if I shake your hand? No, of course, I replied, slightly caught off guard. Looking me directly in the eye, he proceeded to say, I just wanted you to know that you are going to be somebody someday, and I want you to remember this moment. Since that gentleman's comment last October, I have recruited 9 representatives in 3 different countries, raised approximately $3,000 for my cause, and managed to produce and maintain a blog site, Facebook page, and Twitter account. I only wish that he could be here now to listen to what is certainly the most important pitch of my life. What you are holding now in your hands has generated, in only 4 weeks, net revenue large enough to install electricity and a permanent water supply at a small school in Kenya. This is incredible. However, I am here today because I no longer want to help just that one school, but schools all over East Africa. I want to take my small fundraising effort and transform it into a sustainable, nonprofit organization whose mission is to elevate education in Africa while simultaneously spreading awareness about the power of knowledge and the beauty of individuality. Now let me tell you how this all came to be. Last summer, I had the incredible opportunity to go to Africa with my friend Becca and work at a recycled glassblowing studio in Nairobi, Kenya, owned by Ansem Kroos. While there, one of our jobs was to come up with a fundraiser to help support a local school. Ansem had previously bought the students books, but these were soon stolen due to a lack of security. After this, he sat down with the principal and figured out exactly what it was that the school needed. The answer involved the production of expensive yet necessary projects, such as building a fence, restrooms, installing electricity, and a permanent water supply. He gathered price estimates and soon realized he could not afford to take these projects on alone. That's where we came in. Ansem dropped us off, and we spent 2 days working with and learning about the children at the Olo Sirkon Government Primary School. Aside from a brief pep talk, we were essentially unprepared for what we would be doing or seeing. As we stepped out of the vehicle, the first thing I remember seeing was nothing. No paper, no pens, no pencils. The second, and perhaps more unexpected thing I saw, were the faces of tons of happy, smiling children jumping up and down and running in and out of classrooms. My previous conceptions had not prepared me for this contradiction, this concept that one could have so little and yet have so much. Instead, media representations had ingrained in me this idea of destitution as being something devastating and unbearable. I am not saying that it is neither of those things, only that my experience at the Olo Sirkon School shed a much different light on my concept of true happiness. To take pictures and interact properly with the children, I put up a subconscious wall that separated my emotions from what I was doing. It was not until much later, when the day had ended, that I finally let it all in. This moment was undoubtedly the most important part of my journey. Now I had been given the opportunity to help others in a way that was essentially tailored to my own interests, and I needed to run with it. From this experience evolved one bead. The following morning, I pitched my idea to Becca, Ansem, and his wife Zarina. I wanted to make a bracelet. When describing his glassblowing process to us, Ansem had said that his work is made entirely from recycled materials, but it is also not designed to incorporate perfect shapes and angles. Instead, each piece is very unique in the sense that it is personal and handmade. This idea of having something so personal, yet simple enough for mass production, seemed to me the perfect way to grab people's attention. We decided to make a glass bead. One half would be thick and one thin to symbolize the idea of having a lot versus having a little. In the center, connecting the 2 halves, would be an O for the name of the school that we are supporting. The O would also represent a circle of unity. the idea that there is something that binds us all together globally, regardless of our different economic backgrounds. The bead would hang on a piece of leather like a small glass charm. Yes, we hope to eventually expand our market to include other pieces of jewelry and merchandise, but we also recognize the power of starting with a simple idea. Right now, I receive shipments of 200 beads every other week from Africa. The cost of producing, shipping, and leather for a single bead is $2. The price of a bracelet is $12, roughly the US equivalent of 2 lunches, 1 trip to the movies, a few coffees. In other words, a number that our target audience, college students, can relate to. At this price, our beads are selling out. My bracelets are even back-ordered. Right now, I owe 25 bracelets to Adrian College, Villanova University, and the men's lacrosse teams at both Rutgers and the University of North Carolina. Upon receiving the beads, I then ship them along with leather to my representatives, who then voluntarily put together bracelets and sell them at their respective schools. Their profits are mailed back to me in the form of a check and placed in a financial account created for one bead. In just 4 weeks of test markets, one bead has generated net revenue of $2,816.61, as illustrated in page 2 of your handout. One surprising source of volunteers is fraternities and sororities. Philanthropy is a cornerstone of the Greek system, and its members are required to perform a certain number of charity hours each year. If some of these hours are put towards one bead, not only does this eliminate costs on my end, but it also generates a substantial amount of awareness about my cause. Additionally, my representatives have started producing personalized bands for their respective schools. This maintains an important sense of individuality while encouraging healthy competition. In 1 year, I want one bead to expand to include representatives at 50 different schools across the country. My goal is to sell 1,000 beads by the end of this year. I would also like to make bracelets available online. To do this, I will need to outsource a portion of my production to warehouses that could then take care of packaging and distribution associated with these online orders. The majority of the grant will be used to cover important one-time costs, such as legal, liability insurance, and trademarking fees. However, a portion of the grant will also be used to cover specific variable costs that will increase proportionately to one bead's expansion. An itemized budget breakdown and pro forma revenue and cost analysis are available on the first page of your handout. I have had 9 months of experience with trial and error on everything from marketing to production, and it is because of this experience that I can confidently stand up here today and look you in the eye and tell you that this really works. Equally important to the physical impact one bead hopes to make in Africa is the emotional impact we want to have by spreading awareness. Not only is my product unique and attractive to wear, but it also provides people with the opportunity to make a difference in the world. When I put together my promotional video from the footage I captured in Kenya, I compiled shot after shot of sincere laughter and happiness. This is their reality. The desire to learn and the passion for life are already there. We are simply providing these children and educators with the tools they need to succeed. Here we all are, gathered in this room to celebrate the power of an idea. And yet, without education, would this even be possible? Knowledge is power economically, politically, and socially. If we have the ability to give this gift of education to people, then what is holding us back? The most important thing I am doing right now is establishing One Bead as an official nonprofit organization and ultimately creating the One Bead Education Foundation, which will allow me to control exactly where my profits are going and how they will be used. If received, the grant money will be used to make this leap from a fundraising effort to a viable and sustainable nonprofit organization, one that could ultimately provide job opportunities for men and women in Kenya and provide more incentives for children to go to school and learn. It is these kinds of opportunities that will allow a population to flourish economically. In the near future, One Bead hopes to start producing different colored beads that symbolize different schools in Kenya. This will not only help to expand our organization, but will also target customers who have already acknowledged their support for our cause. You should know that regardless of how today turns out, My work and dedication is in no way determined by or ended on this stage tonight. I have learned that I may not be the best photographer or the best video editor, but I am extremely confident in my ability to be a leader. I know that I can motivate and inspire people to do great things. So do not invest simply in this idea, but invest in me. And if that is not enough, invest in the hundreds of other people around the world who are not standing up on this stage with me, but who are equally dedicated to our cause.
Terry, you want to lead us off?
Sure. One, again, great job. All three of you guys have done a really nice job, and you clearly make a very compelling human case of who you're going to help. I guess I'm still struggling a little bit with, is this a moment in time event? Do you do it for the next year? Do you get a lot of traffic? Do you get people essentially buying your beads? Mm-hmm. And then what's next? Or is it simply played out? So that's one question. And a corollary to that question is oftentimes with new business concepts or new ideas, you look for someone else who's done something similar but not exactly the same as yours, as sort of looking for another pioneer, another frontiersman who sort of has proven a way that they can be successful and viable. Is there such another example that you would point to to sort of say, boy, what I'd love this to be is just like that over there? So yes. The long-term viability, and who else has done it?
With regards to your first question, as I said before, we hope to start producing different colored beads. That is one way. We also want to start producing different kinds of merchandise. So one thing I would use the grant money for would be to look into t-shirt production, which I think is huge on a college campus. As I said, my target audience is college students, and I am aware of how important that is. I do feel that other people will buy my bead, but this is what I want to aim at, especially with those specific groups such as sororities and fraternities and other groups on campuses. So I am planning on one bead expanding with no limits. The goal is education, and we hope as we expand to reach out to other organizations who deal with education and use these to come up with new ideas, constantly pushing the market, constantly thinking of ways to attract college students' attention. As for organizations that I might model my business off of, I really am a fan of the Invisible Children Project. I like their artistic quality of their company, and this is something that I want to remain very prominent in my own organization.
And how long have they, and I forgive me, which I don't know that organization as well, how long have they been around, and why do you think that's a sustainable model?
They have been around for some time. I do not know the exact years, but I know that they started as 2 students who were in Africa, and they saw something happening and they wanted to make a change. And these 2 students now have representatives who go to different schools and speak. They have different events that they host. Their organization is towards child soldiers, so it's a little bit different than mine, but they really want to hold true to this artistic quality, and they're constantly asking for video footage and artistic work. And that's something I would like to model my business after.
Great, thank you.
Yes.
There are, recognizing that the college community is a wonderful model here, but how about going to other markets and using other distribution channels similar to a One World Goods or something like that? And the other question I had is, can you teach the villagers to make these?
Yes.
So that that provides an income for them in addition to the market that you'll be bringing revenue back to the schools, because you talked about bringing it to different villages, and so that provides a microeconomic type program for the villages.
As far as other markets, I wanted to be realistic because I'm just starting out and I'm in college, and of course I want to expand definitely to other markets, and I definitely see my organization doing this. However, right now I feel that college campuses are the best place for this. As far as job opportunities in Kenya, yes, I have considered this. I have also considered In addition to having people produce the bead and produce bands in Kenya, I've thought about having some sort of buy-in for the school. I know that the specific school that I'm working with already has a committee, and I want to create a buy-in so that I know that they will upkeep these things that we provide for them. That's very important to me. So for example, electricity has a monthly cost as well as that one-time fixed cost. So with this monthly cost, and obviously they can't pay me for this, but I would like to set up some sort of job that someone could help with maintenance and upkeep for the materials that we provided, and set up more learning opportunities for the children, some sort of free lunch system, things like that.
Thank you.
How are you incenting your sales staff at these different other schools? How are you motivating them?
How am I motivating them?
Right.
Well, right now I have people knocking on my door to be representatives, so that's really motivating, I guess, for me. As far as motivating them, I am featuring them on my blog site currently and giving them their own bio space, pictures, whatever they want. That's a huge part of my organization, is I am willing to put anything up on my blog site that applies to what my organization is doing. And I feel that people should have a personal connection with my organization, and that they should feel this when they go onto my blog site. So in that sense, I'm also looking into obviously more rewards. Right now it is a volunteer service. I hope that in the way future I'm able to pay my representatives or people that are working for me, but right now it is entirely volunteer.
My question, and I have two. One is, I'd just like to know a little bit more about the marketing. I mean, you're talking
Yes.
about your blog site. It's going to take more, you have to get people to your blog site to read your blog, right? So that's a challenge of sorts. And I'd like to know more about just in general, how you intend to market it. And then the second question is upsell, and the fact that you've got now somebody that's paid you $12, how do you intend to get back to those folks with future opportunities to show their charity?
For marketing, right now, in addition to the blog site, Facebook page, and Twitter account, I am also visiting schools, and I have spoken at one school already, and that was hugely successful. I believe that my story is really important, and telling it to people or having my representatives share my story is huge. It makes a huge difference, and I was amazed at the outcome when I spoke. I was completely taken aback by how much support I got for my cause and how many people went out of their way to ask me how they could help. In terms of upsales, in addition to making more beads, so it'll become a collectible item. You can collect beads for the different schools that you support. In addition to this, one of the things I just started with a sorority in Ohio was creating some sort of competition between different groups on campus, and their competition is to design a personal band for the bracelet. And then I choose my favorite bracelet band, and I feature this on my blog site. So it's almost generating this competition, but at the same time, it's raising money. So it's not just about the $12 that goes to the school. It's a two-way street. It comes back to the students that are here as well.
When you mentioned the time that you went to the school and
Yes.
there was a tremendous, outpouring of support, how when you say that, was that like a physical thing, or was that visits to your website, likes on Facebook, followers on Twitter? Was it all the above?
It was all of the above.
And is that the way that you measure success, I guess is my question, from a marketing perspective, like on how it's being perceived, above and beyond sales?
Well, when I first started this, my goal was to spread this awareness. And my goal, yes, it was to provide materials for this school, this one school in Kenya. Now my project is expanding, and I need this grant because I'm trying to keep up with my project. And so I guess my way of measuring how my company or my organization is successful is changing. I mean, 9 months ago, I never would have saw myself here. So it's constantly changing. And as of right now, the more support I get, and every single person who likes my Facebook page, every single person who buys a bracelet, yes, I do measure that as success. But I understand that as a growing organization, there are financial things I must consider, and those are equally as important to me.
Okay.
What are the key learnings from Lance Armstrong and the Livestrong movement? What can you positively capture from that model, and what would you want to avoid?
From that model, I wanted to capture their ability to grab so many people's attention with a simple product. And they actually have a lot more products now, but they started with that simple yellow band, and people, that was a statement. That was a stamp, and that's what I want my bracelet to be. However, considering the Livestrong, I have so much respect for this organization, but I would like mine to be more artistically developed than this. I believe that Livestrong is very corporate, and they're amazing, as I said, so I don't want to take away from that. But it is very important to me, that personal connection that my consumers can have with the product, the personal that personal connection they can have with my blog site. And I am willing to go the extra step to make sure that this happens.
Thank you.
Thank you.